Production funding for this program is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of A Conversation With. I'm your host, Tom Prestigiacomo. And my guest today, I came here in 1979 to Memphis, Tennessee. And probably within the first 6 months I was here, I met this gentleman for the very first time. He's a lot younger than I am, but he's been a lot of places. James McAllister Ogle is our guest. It's okay to call you Jimmy, right?
Yeah, Jimmy's a better way to call me.
That's it. And you're a lifelong Memphian.
Yes, sir.
And you went to MUS?
Well, I went to Presbyterian Day School first.
You went to PDS?
And I just got to state that because in 1964 I was a spelling bee champion there. And I
Oh,
want
you're
to get
kidding.
that out. That's the last academic achievement of my life is what I say. But and then went to Memphis University School. Very fortunate to go there. And through those years, growing up at First Baptist Church at Poplar Parkway, in that family environment too. So all the teachers I had at Memphis University School or MUS, from Colonel Lynn to Eugene Thorne to John Murray Springfield. I saw my high school basketball coach last week and autographed my picture saying I was born to be a point guard, you know, and he's the one that made me a point guard there and gave me a leadership role.
I should explain the outfit that you're wearing right now, just so people don't know. Jimmy is the newest Duckmaster. There's only been how many?
I'm the 6th Duckmaster in the history of the Peabody Hotel. Edward Pembroke was the one that made it famous, and he was the Duckmaster for 50 years.
I'm going to come back to that. I just want to let everybody know that you're not Captain Obvious from those TV commercials.
Okay, right.
All right, so you graduate from MUS, you take a basketball scholarship to
Go to Southwestern at Memphis and do okay on the basketball court, but not in the classroom. So I was on the 10-year plan going through college and graduated from Memphis State University in a degree in education, a BS in education, Parks and Recreation emphasis. So I went into municipal recreation and worked for the Recreation Department of the Memphis Park Commission.
And that's under Dick Hackett?
Well, that was Hackett wasn't the mayor yet. That was Mr. Chandler was the mayor at the time. Why Hackett didn't come mayor till '82. Right. So it was the Memphis Park Commission, the Citizen Board that was abolished in 2000, our great Memphis Park Commission for 100 years. Gerald McKinney was the superintendent of recreation at the time. Glenn Campbell, who you might know from Wonders, hired me in that position there. It's coordinating special events in all the playgrounds and community centers. You know, there was 100 playgrounds at the time and 25 community, bicycle derby with the Memphis JCs or the Kiwanis Club Safety Song and Speech Contest. They have little competitions, and they come to one central location for the citywide competition. That's what I'd coordinate. Game room Olympics of all the game room sports, from table tennis to pool to Uno and things like that. Pitch, hit, and run. You know, the dog frisbee contest, things like that. And then I became administrative manager for the executive director, and then later the deputy director as they reassigned positions in 1984 when Allie Prescott became our executive director. And then in 1985, he shipped me off to Mud Island to be the interim general manager at Mud Island. So that got me downtown.
Tell me about that. Tell me about Mud Island back when you had it.
Well, you know, in '85, we were in the 3rd year. I think I was the 4th general manager. It opened to high expectations and kind of floundered. I'd gotten downtown in the '80s, monitoring events on Tom Lee Park, Memphis in May events, way back when in 1980, you know, the Sunset Symphony, when it was the 8-acre park at the time. So I was familiar with downtown and riverfront and really liked going into downtown. And it was just a time in life to be the interim general manager, and after a season there, they wanted a more local flair to the facility, and that's what we did. And they appointed me general manager. Of course, we had the great contract with Mid-South Concerts and Bob Kelly for the 30 to 35 shows in the amphitheater year when there was nothing else in downtown.
Those were some of the greatest shows I ever saw.
Yes, that season was just unbelievable what Kelly and those folks would produce out of Mid-South Concerts there. And we were getting, 100,000 people or so in the year in the museum, and 500,000 people on the island, and the sunset parties and the festivals. We wanted to make it a festival center, and that worked. And I lasted there till 1993, and then I became general manager of Memphis Queen Line riverboats across the harbor.
Now those are the three. There were 3 boats back then.
4 boats at the time: the Memphis Showboat, Queen 2, Queen 3, and Island Queen. And built by the family, 3rd generation family owns it now. The local cruises, and that gave me a great interest in the riverfront from the riverboat point of view. And then went to Beale Street, worked for John Elkington for Performa, doing the operations of Beale Street. I was there through the millennium, New Year's Eve when B.B. King played in Handy Park, you know, and shortly after that, Wonders came calling in the Smithsonian saying, you want to be the director of the Memphis Rock and Soul Museum in the Gibson Guitar Factory in 2000. So I tell my friends I had the choice, and John Elkington was great to me, by the way, and Al James and all, and Paul Gurley and those folks down there, you know.
That was a great group.
Yeah, and I said, I got a choice between the drunks and the trash and the vomit of Beale Street or Smithsonian Museum about Memphis history and the Gibson Guitar Factory. What a choice that was. I went there.
So talk a little bit about the Rock and Soul Museum and what it is.
My first week there, it was the Smithsonian looking down at our country, the finest museum system in the world, saying, in the quest to identify the roots of America's music, all roads led to Memphis. This is a couple of years after we didn't get the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Everybody got a chip on their shoulder, but it's a worldwide Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It could be anywhere.
Right.
We dominated anywhere. It's like 90 Memphians in it, so we dominated, so let it be. But what we have here is organic and original. The Memphis Rock and Soul Museum about the blues, country, and the soul coming up that blues highway into downtown Memphis, into Beale Street, and melting there. There's a quote by a black politician at the time, Lieutenant George W. Lee. You might wonder about that name of that street right there by the Rock and Soul. But his quote was that Beale Street was a mile of vice and ambition, owned by the Jews, policed by the whites, and enjoyed by the Negroes. That was his quote at the turn of the century. It was a real melting pot for our city.
I was told when I first came here that Beale Street was the only place an African-American couple could
freely go and shop and play and work and have vice and all that other stuff, right. You know, because it was a segregated city. Couldn't go to Main Street till the 60s, you know. So yeah, it was a different type of street than what it is now. It's a tourist attraction now, but it had hardware stores and drugstores and
A. Schwab.
A. Schwab's been there since 1876, you know. It never did change. It's the only place that didn't close in the 70s. So, you know, as that coming into Memphis, and that became rock and roll and soul. Right. Music of the world. You know, the blues had started. Well, the first blues song was published on Beale Street in 1912 by W.C. Handy. So, the first week I was at the Rock and Soul Museum, the greatest learning thing ever happened to me is Sam Phillips came walking in there. Because I'd read books and read handrails and memorized audiovisual programs, and Sonny boy, show me your museum. And I kind of choked up, you know, I said, well, Mr. Phillips, because it was Sam Phillips. And it was like the Smithsonian wrote this story, Wonders put it in here, did a marvelous job collecting the things, and then we run it. Let me show you what's the pictures and the guitars and the costumes, and you tell me what this means to you. Well, I knew he'd talk. 4 hours later, I had a one-on-one with him. I said, I can use that with everybody, whether it's B.B. King or Wink Martindale or George Klein or Ernest Withers or Rufus Thomas or Ben Cawley, who survived the Otis Redding plane crash. You know all these names.
I do.
And interviewing, that's where you learn those personal stories one-on-one. George Klein.
Well, you've got a mind like a trap. But before we leave the museum, tell me what your favorite exhibit is in the Rock and Soul Museum. Do you have one?
Oh, it might be the outfit of Sputnik Monroe. That's the one that shocked me, the wrestler.
Right.
Who, you know, he was 230 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal. I got the meeting on opening day, and he would let his black fans come down on the first floor in the wrestling arenas at a time when they weren't allowed to, in the segregated arenas.
He led the country.
And that's how he got his name, Sputnik, because all the white redneck fans would call him a damn communist. You're just a Sputnik after the satellite. Right. And he'd walk down Beale Street when a white man was supposed to walk down Beale Street and do stuff like that. But he championed the cause of mixing it up, you know.
My friend Johnny Dark was his first fan club manager.
There you go.
That's so
and
fun.
It tells you, everybody knows wrestling in Memphis. It is, besides music, it's the universal language of Memphis, to tell you. When you start talking about wrestling, and just a month ago, I got to help open Jerry the King's Lawler's restaurant, you know, with Greg Erickson and Starship, and meet Coco Beware and Bill Dundee and all these folks, and Jerry Calhoun was even there.
Oh no! I'm surprised he's still alive.
Dave Brown came, you know.
And Lance Russell.
Lance didn't make it. Banana Nose didn't make it. We'll let you be Banana Nose today.
How old are you when you were at the Rock and Soul Museum?
Oh gosh, in my early 40s, I guess. I will.
So we got a long way to go. How long were you at the Rock and Soul Museum?
About 4 years, and then I went to work for Greg Erickson, my friend, with marketing and entertainment in casinos and arenas around the country. Worked part-time at the FedEx St. Jude golf tournament with Phil Cannon. Right. You know, and did some calligraphy on my own, golf scoring calligraphy. Still do the score clock at the Tiger basketball games, you know, and the Grizzly. Used to do the Grizzly games.
Slow down. Let's talk about the golf tournament first. What did you get to do there?
Well, in the 70s, we were college students, and we were working for Jack Bugby out there, just in the press room at Old Colonial. Bob Wynn was with us, and just working in the press room, doing the hole-by-hole scoring.
And tell people where Old Colonial used to be.
Countrywood. Well, it's still there. I mean, I'm talking Colonial. Old Colonial is at Spotswood,
Right.
where Target is, let's say. Now, New Colonial, I meant to say, out here in Countrywood. That moved out there in 72.
And they're still
moved
there
to
now.
Southwind in 89. In fact, I did a golf tournament there 2 weeks ago for the University of Memphis golf tournament. Did the calligraphy for them. And I got flown around the country doing calligraphy. In 1977, when Al Geiberger shot the first 59 ever, if you see that in large scorecard anywhere with Danny Thomas and Vernon Bell. And
Is that
Don
your
Drake,
handwriting?
That's my handwriting, that large scorecard right there. And there's a picture on the wall at Mortimer's, because that was Vernon Bell's middle name, that Sarah runs Mortimer's. So yeah, that's an iconic piece of Memphis calligraphy history, I guess.
You're just interwoven through all of it. If you weren't part of it, you met the people who were.
Yeah, through just being behind the scenes, like running the score clock and meeting people like Gerald McKinney, who actually gave me a job at the Park Commission. Met Jimmy Hayslip there, at Shelby County Schools. He's still the scorekeeper
I'm
for
going
Tiger
to come to
basketball
statistics.
games.
I'm going to talk to how many games you've seen.
But I grew up in East Memphis, and I was equidistant between Laurelwood and Summer Center and Poplar Plaza Shopping Center in High Point Terrace. So as a kid, I was riding a bike around all the time, looking at this stuff. And I still live in that neighborhood today. Now, I lived downtown for 20 years when I was working downtown so much, but now being Shelby County historian as well, I have a lot of demand for being out in Rosemark or in Cordova or in Germantown doing talks and tours and meeting with history groups. I got to be kind of in the middle of the county to start the day and end the day.
So after you left the Rock and Soul Museum, it was
Erickson Group, and then fooling around with the golf tournament out at Southwind with Phil, and then the RDC was trying to get Beale Street Landing open. And they finally worked out a deal with American Queen Steamboat Company. The city gave them a loan, which they're paid back pretty good now, and that helped get the political sway to get the landing, the final money to get it open. And
explain what Beale Street Landing is for people who only know of it as we paid this much money for this thing.
Okay, well, the controversial part of it's what it is, but it's a wonderful facility with a green grass roof. You can hardly see it from the street when you drive down there. It's a riverboat terminal only for 600 local riverboat cruises that cruise there every about 80,000 people. There's a restaurant there, Riverfront Bar and Grill, open 6 days and nights a week. There's catering opportunity there. On that roof at nighttime.
They do movies, don't they?
Well, they did movies on Tuesday nights like Shrek and Star Wars. Free movies, bring your blanket, 400 or 500 people there. There's a playground with water features on it, big catfish, viewing areas of all kinds of the river and the city skyline. But to me, the most important feature was the cruise boat industry. That had been from 2008 to 2011, had been dormant on the Mississippi River. Nobody cruising anywhere. American Queen comes back with local investors, housed in Memphis, officed at One Commerce Square, Memphis, Tennessee's on the back of that boat. Biggest riverboat ever built, 1995. They start coming back when it's still a construction project. We're moving people through that helical ramp through a construction project. And the deal about that weird helical ramp down there, the old cobblestones were laid in the 1850s through the 1890s. They're on a 6-to-1 slope. So our water line moves 200 feet during the course of the year. This helical ramp makes it handicap accessible at all times with the way the dock floats up and down. And won an international award this past year from Archizer, so that's pretty good right there. So now, this year we've had 3 boats. Next year we'll have 5 boats from 3 different companies coming into Beale Street Landing, about 100 disembarkations and embarkations
from
people from all over the world. 70% of the people that come into Memphis, about 20,000 people coming in here a year, are from the East Coast and West Coast America, Europe, Australia, Japan, and New Zealand. They're coming to the middle of America to get the Mississippi River like we want to go on the Danube or go to Hawaii. It's a reverse effect. And these folks really want Americana. They want the organic part of the Mississippi River, basically from Hannibal, which is Mark Twain, St. Louis, Memphis, Delta, New Orleans. It's the Civil War, civil rights, the music, the food, the romanticized part of the Mississippi River. Faulkner, Tennessee Williams, Mark Twain. And that's where you get it. It's right here. And Bloomberg report said there's 55,000 people cruising the interior rivers of America this year, and we get 36% of them in Memphis. It's a $40 million economic impact for our city, and that's new money coming in from the outside. That's not money being gerrymandered around, but then not one pot going from the other in Memphis. It's clean, new, green money coming into here, hitting our restaurants, our attractions, the taxi cabs, 100 taxi cabs calls, the motor coaches, getting product on there, food, produce, seafood, dry goods, petroleum. Sometimes the boats take on between 5,000 and 15,000 gallons of fuel here in Memphis
Wow.
via the River Economy Boat Store. Ewing Moving Service will move 1,400 suitcases in and out of that place, you know,
Right.
for the American Queen. So now you have the American Cruise Lines with their 2 boats, and the French American Line with the Louisiane, and then American Duchess is a new boat from American Queen Steamboat Company. All will be in here next year down the riverfront.
Plus, you also have the 4 boats from Memphis that
Correct.
sail in
And
and out.
the
do
Island
daily
Queen, the
tours.
Memphis Queen 3 are doing the daily sightseeing cruises every day, just like they've done since 1955.
Right.
3rd generation family. Captain William Lozier carrying on the legacy there and taking care of our docks as well. So it's a great maritime port for our country, not just for the lower Mississippi River. And of course, in the river industry, they say there's only one river in America. That's the lower Mississippi River.
That's right.
You know, you do have the Columbia up there and the Ohio and the upper Mississippi and Tennessee.
But at the confluence.
The lower is where it starts right there in Cairo. That lower 900 miles, like that river walk on Mud Island,
Right.
that great model, that's what it is. And that's what really sells for all the tourists.
Let's talk about your history classes that you teach. And I mean,
Well, how I got
officially
started
and
in the
unofficially.
history, I was at Erickson Group, and I wasn't doing much performance, I guess you would say, because when you're in the museum, you're always giving tours and answering questions, and I kind of missed that. So I went to Leslie at the Center City Commission at the time. They had the Downtown Alive program in Court Square. They had the music and dance at
Right.
lunchtime, brown bag. And I said, you don't have a lecture or tour component to this. I'll come out here for free and stand in Confederate Park and talk about the Mississippi River for 30 or 45 minutes one time at lunchtime. I bet you get 30 or 40 people. She went, no, we're going to stick with the music. And I went, what? So what about the river boats? They built those boats from scratch in their backyard. We'd climb up in the paddle house, ring the bell, all that stuff, and go those historic cobblestones. And she said, no. And then I said, well, how about a manhole cover tour? And she said, yes. Well, I went, oh, great. I don't have a manhole cover. I just made her say yes. Now I got to go make up a tour. But I lived downtown for 20 years, and I'd walked all the streets and sidewalks and parks and plazas and alleys and noticed the different shapes and sizes of manhole covers. So I started taking pictures to do a museum exhibit, because Mississippi River Museum lets me do changing exhibits over there at different times, like the River Walk or Art of the River and stuff like that. And I found out there were 3 different shapes, round, square, and rectangular. There's 7 different usages, like gas, plumbing, electric, storm drain, sewer, traffic signal, telephone. There's over 2,000 manhole covers in downtown Memphis, but there's 157 different kinds by my comparative study between the Pyramid and the train station and Wolf River and Danny Thomas.
And these are walking tours that you
Well,
have, right?
this is the subject of it. There's 14 different generations of electrical manhole covers. There's 57 ways you can say Memphis in a manhole cover in downtown Memphis by the shape of the font. Over 100 years old, ornamental iron, tell you how our city got formed and grew at the turn of the century. So I called them back the next day. I couldn't walk all over downtown in 45 minutes at lunchtime, so I said I had to make about a 45-minute walk, about 4 blocks. So I picked Union Avenue from Riverside Drive to the Peabody Hotel. Gee, the Peabody Hotel. So,
We're coming.
and I said, we got the river, we got the flags, got the bridges, got the cobblestones, got the promenade, got Cotton Road, got WDIA, got November the 6th, 1934 Street.
That's my favorite street.
Got the only street in America named after a month, a day, and a year. And we got to get the city to put 1934 back on those signs for that reason. That's another story. Rendezvous, and of course the Peabody Hotel, where the Mississippi Delta begins, and the lobby and ends at Catfish Row. And that was, and the Lansky brothers there too. And so I called him up the next day and said, let's do the Great Union Avenue Manhole Cover and History Tour. And she said, okay. I said, put it on your website. You don't have to pay me. You can't tell me what to say, and I'll do it. And they put it on the website, and Linda Moore from the Commercial Appeal called the next day and said, you're not taking people down in the manholes, are you? And I said, no, that's against the law. I would never do anything like that. and they're heavy anyway. Some weigh 100 pounds. They're dirty. Somebody might get hurt. Somebody might get stuck. Just let me come out and show you what we're going to do. And we did it, and they brought a photographer, and there's 4 big pictures on the Commercial Appeal the next day. And the next day there was 91 people on the tour and 2 TV stations, which was twice as many people at Court Square that day. And I went, ha, a star is born. You can't tell me what to say, you can't pay me, you can't tell me what to do, and just promote me. And that was the deal. So the next 12 weeks, I wrote a different 45-minute tour of a different street in downtown Memphis every week. I did Mississippi River 2 times because the land and the water had so much information. Then Cotton Row, then Beale Street, then the Pinch District, then Court Square and surroundings, South Main, then individual streets. Like Jefferson Avenue last month on September the 6th, we honor the 100th anniversary of the way Memphis changed the way the world shopped for groceries.
With Piggly Wiggly.
Self-service grocery store, Piggly Wiggly, Clarence Saunders. When I tell little kids Clarence Saunders, they go, do you mean Colonel Sanders?
Right.
No, that's the chicken guy. No, and that was a great story right there for our community. And so then the University of Memphis asked me to do it as a continuing education course. So I had to get a laptop and a scanner to make it look like a professor in a classroom. It's a 15-hour course. And then started talking at civic breakfasts or lunches or schools or senior citizen homes. And my greatest resource now is to go into Tresvant Manor or the Village in Germantown and these senior homes and talking. And they tell me their stories. I was on a bus the other day with Tresvant Manor, and we're going by Claiborne Temple. And I talked about the I'm a Man posters. And a gentleman raises his hand and goes, my company made those posters.
Oh, wow.
You know?
You talked about November 6, 1934 Street. Where did it get its name?
It's when we voted to join TVA Power. It's just a simple thing.
The Tennessee Valley Authority.
Right. There was a rural power program. We're an urban center. It's controversial. Eisenhower tried to kick us off. That's when we built the Allen Steam Plant, which now is being changed. But it's the only street in America named after a month, a day, and a year. Not even a July 4th, 1776 in Boston, or a July 20th, 1969. We landed on the moon. For the silly reason, that's when we voted to join TVA Power. That's historic. But
that was historic.
It's a cool name for a street.
Well,
that's one of the quirky. In fact, every November the 6th, I do a tour of November the 6th Street. It starts at Bill and ends at Shadiac in the Pinch. It's 17 blocks long. It's the spine of downtown. It's a great tour.
I'll be darned.
606 on November the 6th this year.
I want to talk about your tours, but I also want to talk about the Peabody. Take me through your normal day as Duckmaster. How many Duckmasters before?
5 before me. We have an
6th.
associate Duckmaster, Doug Weatherford now. I'm only there 5 days a week, basically Fridays through Tuesdays. So it's a team effort down there.
Right.
And I've been external to the Peabody all these years and admired what they do, the great reputation. But getting internal there, it blows you away about how much training we went through in orientation, the care of the staff, the teamwork that's in there. I'm just amazed. It's the best place I've ever been as far as training and work culture. It's just amazing. It's second to none. And how the concierges and the bellmen love me, take care of me, watch my back, help out. You know, it's really neat to work there. And I'm a guy in a red suit.
You're the show.
Everybody smiles at me, you know. And my typical day is get there. I got to go upstairs and make sure the ducks are awake and okay. And there's 5 still in there, you know. They've laid eggs. I got to take care of that. I got to hose out the overnight activity in there. Some other duties is assigned. You got to clean the duck pen. Give them a little morning shower. They love that little misty spray. They'll stand over and wiggle their heads and do that. You know, it's funny. And then go down and start setting up for the tour. Put the red ribbons out, lay out the red carpet, the stairs, do a couple of announcements, talk about St. Jude, we're raising funds for them. Then give the talk of the history and tradition, how it started as a practical joke in 1933. The general manager took some live duck decoys and forgot to leave them in the farm in Arkansas and brought them back and set them in as a joke and came down the next day and thought they'd be flying all over the place, and they weren't. They were calmly in the fountain. So they let them stay. And then Mr. Pembroke came along, and it's been a tradition ever since, you know. And the Peabody's always been the center, the epicenter of downtown Memphis socially and culturally. As Mark Cohen says, not Mark Cohen, David Cohen. Mark Cohen's singing tonight.
Mark Cohen sings, that's
walking
right.
in Memphis. But David Cohen says the Mississippi Delta begins in the lobby of the Peabody Hotel and ends at Catfish Row in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And so many things have happened, from weddings to receptions, parties and proms, stars, you know, in the building over 80 years. It's just a phenomenal place. It's what I call the center of the known universe in Memphis, Tennessee.
What's your favorite part about the Peabody? I mean,
The Ducks.
I know, but I mean, what's your favorite part about being with the Ducks?
They're different every day. I follow them. They tell me something new every day. This is a whole, you never know.
Do you find they have their own personalities?
Yes, well, not individually, but as a group. Sometimes they want to go fast, sometimes they want to go slow, sometimes they want to circle around the fountain 5 times before they come out, sometimes they listen to the music. I know this cane, they'll stay away from this cane if I gently place it one way or the other.
Right.
They know the red carpet, they know the red jacket. They know the King Cotton March by John Philip Sousa, I believe. I've noticed a few things like that, but they're only there for 3 months at a time, and they go back into the wild. We get a whole new set. And I haven't been through transition yet. Yeah, they're going to tell me how they train each other, how to walk up and down that carpet, because I don't know to this day. We're going to find out. And they leave me, I don't leave them.
Is it
They're a lot of fun.
one male and the rest females?
1 drake and 4 hens. They're North American mallards, yes, sir.
And where do you get the new replacements?
Well, this is that mystery duck farm over there in Arkansas somewhere. I get them on a need-to-know basis right there.
Did you just say it was a mystery?
Well, to me, I don't know. I haven't been told yet. It's not my concern yet. You know, I got to prepare their food every day too in the afternoon. I got to do the turn-down service.
I understand. You're in animal management
and top
now.
off the duck food there with a little bed of romaine lettuce and stuff like that. It's a very delicate thing. So the ducks are really cute, and the people really like them. And all the little duck symbols. I got my little duck cufflinks on here. You probably can't see, but you know. I've heard every bad duck pun ever already. You don't need to come up with any more bad duck
please
puns.
Please note that I have not.
But people from all over the world come in and just smile, and they love it. It's about 200,000 people here that watch that duck march itself, and probably another 500,000 that come in the fountain or come in the lobby during the course of a day or during the year, morning, noon, and night to enjoy the atmosphere there.
Are you on duty after the ducks have arrived? You wander around?
I'm a glorified guy in a red coat walking around, answering questions. I give a history tour from 11:30 to 12:30 of the building. We do that on a daily basis. We go to the mezzanine, go to the history room, go to the roof, go to Skyway, and talk about how the building was built.
Because we're almost out of time, I want to make sure. On the way out, what time do you need to be there if I'm bringing my aunt and uncle into town?
45 minutes in advance. 11 o'clock and 5 o'clock every day, because people flood in there. You gotta get there early to get a good seat. Let kids sit along the carpet too.
And you're going to decorate for Christmas.
It's going to be beautiful during the holidays. It's incredible between Thanksgiving and New Year's and the local choirs that come and sing. It's a great treat. It's the ultimate Memphis treat right there.
All right, we're almost out of time. Tell me your favorite thing about Memphis.
There's no city in America that tells a story about American history better than Memphis does, good or bad, from the early Native Americans to the 20th century entrepreneurs, Civil War, civil rights, music, medicine, everything. It's just, I got 40 more hours to go, so I'll come back sometime.
My guest today has been my friend Jimmy Ogle. This is A Conversation With. You can see Jimmy at the Peabody, and you can see me here the next time we talk. Have a great night.